Nowadays, life feels like it's moving too fast. I remember being in college wanting nothing more than to speed up the clock, itching to press the fast forward button to when I actually had a degree. A simple piece of paper saying that, yeah, I spent 4 years of my life in a place to prove that I would be a suitable employee at some cushy office job. Well now, after countless study groups, sleepless nights, and a mild case of severe alcoholism, I got my degree. One in computer science, which nowadays doesn't even make me qualified to put the fries in the bag. Nah, but seriously, after a couple months of searching for a job, I finally managed to land something close to me in IT. Nothing too crazy, the simple computer diagnosis and networking problem here and there. It's paying the bills, so I really can't complain too much. Honestly, the only thing I'm really having trouble with nowadays is my time. I mentioned earlier that life post-graduation just feels so fast. Compared to my university days, there were moments where singular classes would feel like a whole day. You'd be listening to some professor just go into a full yap sesh about a topic you could care less about for a class you're only taking to satisfy some credit guideline. It felt like it was designed to waste your time, and when you're aware of that, every single second, minute, and hour is felt. The only saving grace being that university is a lot of people's first experience of being independent. Yeah, classes can suck, homework can pile on, and exam season has definitely made me want to drop out more than once. But between all of that, you're allowed to do essentially whatever the hell you want. Whether that be meeting new people, discovering yourself, and especially getting into a new hobby. I know for a fact that the person I am today is thanks to the hobbies I've acquired throughout the years, some being more beneficial than others. Take the gym for example. I, like many other people, grew up a bit chubbier. Now, I was never outwardly made fun of for my weight at school or anything like that. In fact, growing up Mexican, most of the flame came from my own family. But when I began my freshman year of university, I wanted to treat it like a fresh start and pick up on some habits to actually improve my life.
Aw, dang it. Aw, dang it. Aw, dang it.
Despite the many hurdles the world was throwing my way, I eventually made progress. A lot of it actually. I went from a hefty 240 to a comfortable 190 pounds, all within a year. And throughout the journey, I began to actually enjoy the process. Working out morphed from this obstacle I had to get through to more of a form of therapy that I genuinely looked forward to doing. During exams or important deadlines, I would start getting bummed because I would have to take my attention off of the gym so I didn't end up failing my classes. Even outside of the gym, university was also the place I realized I had a profound love and appreciation for trading card games, specifically Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh!, both of which I had no prior experience with besides watching the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime growing up.
I summon Pot of Greed to draw 3 additional cards from my deck!
That's not what it does.
This was around the time of the TCG Renaissance, as I like to call it, when everyone and their mother was buying cases of booster box sets just to pull for chase cards. It was really funny too, because you'd see a lot of people that were treating these things as quote-unquote investments, which, hey man, if you have the disposable income and time to spend on shiny cardboard for a potential profit down the line, more power to you. But let's call it what it is, over glorified gambling. This isn't to bash on people who do buy boosters. Hell, once in a blue moon, if a new set drops that I'm really interested in, I'll buy a box just to try my luck and get some potential trades out of. While pulling for cards can be fun in its own right, I also find immense gratification playing the games these cards are meant for. Yu-Gi-Oh! More so than Magic. Now, I ain't gonna go into the whole spiel of how contemporary Yu-Gi-Oh! Works and all of its mechanics because, frankly, that could be an entire video in and of itself. But if I had to put a single word or phrase to it, I would have to say it's hype. You've got competitive entry points that aren't too expensive in the form of structure decks. Don't want to spend money? Fuck it, bro. Try one of the many online simulators made by the community, or even the official one made by Konami themselves. The ban list and culture surrounding it provides an atmosphere of anticipation and excitement. There was also a puking horse there for a while too. You have Zayn Malik! Wait, what's this video about? Hobbies. Right. Although, I'd be lying if I said it was all sunshine and rainbows. After graduating, I was unfortunately met with a combination of health issues and job market apathy that really affected me mentally as well as physically. It got to the point where I would dread having to drag myself out of bed because I knew that once I did, I'd essentially be doing nothing for the amount of time that I was awake. I was convinced I was going crazy because the things I used to partake in would just not bring me as much joy or satisfaction as they once did. I dropped almost every other aspect of my life to just mindlessly scroll on LinkedIn, Glassdoor, and Google Jobs, just applying to jobs for hours and hours on end. And when I wasn't applying to jobs, I was doing stupid, arbitrary coding puzzles and courses so I could increase my chances of acing a technical interview. But hey, at least I can reverse a linked list now, I guess. It became this monotonous spiral of rejection, resume revamping, and interview prep that was affecting me heavily. This wasn't from a lack of trying or qualifications either. I already had many personal projects under my belt that demonstrated my skill and understanding of programming. And on top of that, 2 prior internships with local companies to show valid work experience. But it felt like it wasn't enough. Like I wasn't enough. And through it all, I missed engaging with the hobbies that gave me joy. I missed talking to the many friends I made through these hobbies, and when I would see how much excitement and quality time I was missing out on, I would just feel defeated. I convinced myself that once I found a stable job, it would all be over. The countless hours spent grinding away would then be given back to me, and I could go back to the things that brought me a lot of happiness. And for the most part, I was right. It took me 5 months to land my current IT job, and almost immediately, I dusted off the old gym duffel and deck box just to get right back into it. I hadn't realized how much of an outlet for stress these habits had become for me, and it wasn't until I saw a video recently that really reminded me of how much of a hole I was stuck in for a couple of months. This video being, okay, stay with me now. I got divorced over Yu-Gi-Oh! Upon first read, the title would have you believe that this guy's spouse was going all like, "Oh man, you put too much time towards that card game. I attribute our marriage to special summon divorce papers and attack you directly," or something like that. But the reality of it being much more depressing and borderline controlling on the side of this man's spouse. I highly do recommend you watch the video yourself. Your Yu-Gi-Oh! Channel is a bit of an OG in the space, and he deserves all the love in the world. But the Cliff Notes version of this video is that he essentially started seeing someone who was not particularly fond of his hobby, that being, as you can guess, Yu-Gi-Oh! During the time that they were still dating, he was actually making a livable income off of this hobby. He says himself that the content he was uploading to his YouTube channel was providing enough to pay the bills he had at that time. And to the vast majority of people out there, they would love to turn their passion into something that actually provides a source of income. Most, if not everyone that I know, would kill to be in that position and be well off in the process. Unfortunately, his partner didn't see it the same way. Instead of trying to be understanding of his likes and method of income, she saw it as something childish and something that was embarrassing to talk about whenever people would ask her what her boyfriend did or liked. It became this point of contention in his relationship and essentially boiled down to her pressuring him to drop Yu-Gi-Oh! And pursue ventures that she deemed quote-unquote responsible or grown up. Eventually, he ended up selling his YouTube channel and pursuing a degree. And while that in and of itself isn't a bad thing, I mean, he still spent his time putting it towards something that would positively affect him and his skill set. He never felt the want nor need to pursue this degree to begin with. He ended up getting a car because his partner wanted him to meet her parents and stated, "You need a car," but before, he was taking the bus and walking everywhere. He was doing just fine. He changed so much of himself and what he loved doing that when people started to ask him what he enjoyed to do outside of his job and his partner, he couldn't give them an answer, which, ironically enough, then prompted his partner to say, "Oh, you need a hobby." Ironic, isn't it? Surprise, surprise, he ends up getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh! It starts becoming a problem for her again, there's fight after fight, and now we're here. This video is a case of what happens when you let the perception and social norms of others affect your day-to-day life. While no one was forcing his hand to make these changes, he still did them because he wanted to make his partner happy, which, at the time, who can really blame him? It was only when she started losing control over every aspect of his life that the fighting would begin, and he eventually realized that, hey, this isn't a healthy relationship. After watching this video and hearing his story, I couldn't help but feel that a lot of people, myself included, have gone through something similar. It doesn't have to exactly involve another person being controlling or things of that nature, but I'm willing to bet that many people have had ups and downs when it comes to the hobbies that they once partook in. And what I often see from people that completely abandon these hobbies is a lack of interest in other aspects of their life as well. It becomes a trap of wake up, work, sleep, rinse and repeat. And I don't see how that's sustainable for the vast majority of people. We're simple creatures. We naturally want to chase things that make us happy, and as long as the things we go after aren't harmful in any way towards ourselves or others, there's no shame in pursuing them. And don't let anyone else tell you otherwise.